Some people might think that if I showed up to church like this and preached like this, that people might get offended. I'm not talking about anybody in particular besides our cameraman Brent. But they would say, look at my shorts and my t-shirt and my runners. You can't show up like that. People aren't going to be able to hear your message. And of course that's partly true, that we need to eliminate some of these cultural barriers. But it's also true, I think, that in the church oftentimes we focus a lot on exterior appearances and we focus on maybe superficial morality as opposed to kind of the deep heart of things. And that's really what we saw Jesus dealing with in Mark chapter 7. He has this interaction with the Pharisees and the teachers of the law where they're maybe focusing on their oral traditions that have really emphasized exterior cleanliness, and they've kind of found all these loopholes in the law that kind of let them keep the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law is missed. And we talked about how we do often the same kind of thing. We've done it throughout history. We talked about beards in the early church and drug-running Mennonites. We also talked about how even in some of our own habits and traditions we can become legalistic, and not just in the church, but actually even in our culture, in our society as a whole. This is what we tend to do. We tend to focus on superficial exterior morality. But Jesus says in this passage that the problem is our heart, that it's out of our heart that comes all the kinds of things that make us unclean, thoughts that lead to hatred and lust and murder and those kinds of things. And so what we really need, and what the gospel points to, is to be cleansed, to be restored, to have our hearts transformed at a deep level and to be made new in the image of Jesus. And so my one question for you as you talk about this text, as you talk about the sermon this week, is this: do you see any legalistic tendencies in your own life, and how does the gospel deal with those?